I think it's probably easiest if each of you introduce themselves, because you probably know best. But let's start with you, Terje, if you want to spend a sentence.
Yeah, so I'm Terje Jensen in Telenor. So Telenor is an operator we are in 8 different countries. And actually I have 2 roles in Telenor today. So one is that I'm the business security officer. And the second one is also on the slide. So I'm also heading up the network and cloud technology strategy. And I think it's maybe the latter part which is part of this session as well. So happy to discuss on the RAN and core and transport and whatever domains we can touch upon.
Great, thanks, Terje. Let's continue with you, Juan.
Hello, good afternoon all. My name is Juan Francisco Redondo. I work for 3UK. I'm heading up RAN strategy and architecture. And as such, I'm responsible for the solution engineering, long-term views, plannings, and then the contractual and delivery setup of our programs that underpin our strategy.
Fantastic, thank you, Juan. And then we have Andre.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andre Vieira. I'm currently leading the offer of operations intelligence in Cellfocus. Cellfocus is an SI that is specialized in telco, in analytics, and cognitive. And I'm also the working group leader on the Linux Foundation Hero Project Silva adoption and communication. It's a pleasure to be here today.
And good to have you, Andre. And then we have Cayetano from Telefonica.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Cayetano Carvajo from Telefonica, 29 years in the company, being CTO in Germany or in Mexico or in Morocco. But now I'm leading the core transport and service platform in the technical corporate unit of Telefonica, what we call Global CTIO internally. And it is for sure a pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you for the panel. My name is Bela. I'm managing partner of ADL. I'm part of ADL's what we call Technology Economics Competence Center. And I also head up the enterprise business for the telecoms industries within ADL globally. Happy to moderate you here. And I think the topic that we have is a fantastic topic that we can spend much more than the half hour that we have. I already noticed this in the prep, but I want to get this going with the first question, which is basically mixing the terms, right? We are saying the RAN should be in the cloud, and I want to go and say, why at all should we put the RAN in the cloud? Is the RAN not good enough? What do we mean by that, and what benefits do we expect? Terje, maybe you want to take it first.
Yeah, I can start. Maybe I could start from the last part of the question, which is what the heck is the benefits? So I could maybe introduce, and I'm quite sure there will be more comments on that. So starting with the last part, I guess on why the heck should we do cloud? I think, and then of course RAN will be one of the applications there. So I guess a no-brainer kind of for the cloud environment is basic the separation of hardware and software, meaning that we are able to scale up and down the capacity, of course, given that we need the capacity for something else. So that's of course is an easy, low-hanging benefit of the cloud, which we see and have seen also in other network domains. Another thing is that we see that the cloud by itself is also allowing shorter time to market with new software, as basically we can download the software. You don't have to ship the hardware. We have an example there, for example, that we were able to spin up a new network function within 2 days for a new supplier, which typically would take 6 or 4 to 6 months if you really want to ship the hardware. So the kind of shorter time to market with a new network functionality and also a new supplier would be quicker in that sense. Then we also believe that having this within the RAN domain and on the cloud would lower the threshold of innovation, meaning that you are attracting more and different kind of companies into your problem to be solved there. And one part of it is, for example, to allow to run smaller innovation activities when, of course, you can isolate that from the rest of the part, which definitely would require cloud plus some security feature around that to isolate the different activities there. So that will be another benefit of the cloud. Then secondly is that we see that cloud native also comes with tools, a new way of work, supporting automation, for example, to a much different degree than what you have used to in different more traditional network domains, and then in particular also on on the RAN side. So that will also be, of course, lowering the thresholds for working with customers. And we have quite a few interesting cases there working with enterprise customers and using RAN in a bit of a different new ways, which we are happy to come back to later in the session. But that requires that they can work in a cloud environment. They don't want to be study for 4 years to understand the telco technologies before they can really take benefits of this. Then also CVC can split the RAN into a number of domains, and some of these will fairly easily be run on in a cloud environment, for example, on the centralized units and controllers and management systems, while others part of the RAN, typically on the transmitters on the radio units, will be harder to really take full advantage and move on to cloud. But I'm quite sure that there will be other panelists also having opinions about the benefits and why we are doing this.
Well, thank you for opening the spread of things. And yes, there is obviously innovation expected. You shared workloads, you said ecosystem, new ways of working. Juan, you are head of RAN strategy and architecture. When you do your business cases, and I guess I'm taking the challenging position here, saying, well, maybe we don't, right? Just to challenge and have the contrast stronger. When you do your architecture and your strategy, which of the aforementioned that Terje brought up are actually manifesting themselves in a business case? And if I were to throw it, one was innovation, ways of working and tool chain, fluctuation of load, new ecosystems to tap into. Which one actually flies with you?
I think we have to distinguish between what we already have and we have to preserve, and the areas of improvement that we want to bring to the table. So, of course, we have our network investment cycles where we have to refresh our technology in the RAN every few years. And when we have that opportunity, we assess what is the best way of doing it. And we do those technology evolutions along with the main kind of 3GPP standardization, which is a key element. And we want to bring better performance, better capacity, enablement of new spectrum, and we want to do it with vendors that we can trust and that we can give us more. So we have a basis of what we want, and then we can think, can we get something extra out of that? Can we improve our cost structure when we do this modernization? And that is where the elements of the business case that you're referring to start playing a role. It's purely the unit cost that we can attribute to each of the RAN sites and how we apportion that between different elements to start with, but also, can we do more with it? Can we? What is the value added of that we can bring? And can we create a business case associated to that? So that's where the cloud start playing a role as an enabler of incremental capabilities that we may not have. All those potential benefits of the cloud that we're referring to, the time to market, the innovation, the capability to scale. Where and when is that relevant for the RAN? And if it is, we can quantify it, fantastic. And also, we want to discover what are the enablers required for that to happen. Because the cost of the enabler play a role in the business case. We want to cloudify specific elements. We have to start talking about centralization. If we talk about the public networks, we have to centralize, and if we want to centralize, we have to disaggregate, and we may also need the investment in the transport network required to make all that effective. So going back to your question, you see that we have some elements of cost in the business case associated to the enablers, but also we have all those potential benefits that we have to quantify to make the business case viable. Preserving always that we have a set of must-haves in terms of performance, functionality, capacity, and coverage, which are our key pillars in the RAN domain.
Thank you, Juan. Cayetano, I want to throw the question to you about because it is part of this debate, whether we need a broader ecosystem of solution providers. If we want to get innovation into our networks and into our functions, and we want that innovation to be, at least to some extent, software driven, right? And we'll need now the tool chain for CI/CD, et cetera, et cetera. Is there a credible ecosystem that you could imagine sourcing those innovations from, and what would you be looking for?
I think in general, we need a rich ecosystem of partners, of solution provider, of vendor. I see vendor are like my kids when they were younger. I love them, but you cannot let them alone. Okay, so when you have a vendor alone in your network, you have much less favorable commercial conditions, but also you have less innovation. I mean, competition stimulates innovation. Cloud, in a way, can be understood as a tool for reducing the barrier for new vendors. But this is not happening. I mean, today, the number of credible vendors that we have, it is not there. I don't know if in the next technology cycle, we'll have alternative vendor with less functional gap compared with what we have today. But this is not happening. But to your question, certainly we need a richer ecosystem of vendor. In some markets, due to geopolitical reason, we are not able to use some of the vendors and some of them leading technology. But this has not been complementing with the appearance of new vendor, at least with a credible a proposal in the sense that competitive from technological point of view. So this is one of the problems we are facing right now. And in my opinion, it's not only dealing with radio. In core, that cloudification is much more progress. The importance of alternative vendor are still not so big. For sure, you have some vendors that are not the main ones. I mean, you see Affirm or Mavenir or many others. But when you compare market share, the competition is not big enough yet.
I see. So, Andre, one of the things that we've been discussing, and I guess you're a proponent of this, is O-RAN could provide a possible solution of a broader ecosystem of providers that comply with a standard and therefore are interoperable, right? Is on the other hand, O-RAN has been hyped for some time. Then the hype cycle came down. Are we at a stage where O-RAN is delivering competitive performance and power consumption profiles and is cost efficient and gives me the necessary throughput or comparable throughput so I can actually consider it for my RAN? Or is O-RAN not there yet and it's more to be reserved for the 6G era?
O-RAN is going to touch a bit on this move to the cloud on the RAN part. I think right now, and from what I'm seeing, is still leaving the first steps, but it's touching all the points that we've been talking here today in terms of what are the benefits. And in O-RAN, we are giving it's the final step, not only the disaggregation of the hardware and software, but having the CU and the U, a completely new way of looking at the RAN part. But it's also on the business case. So that O-RAN is having, and the business case are promising. And what Caetano was talking about, the bringing new vendors and innovation. Of course, I know that the operators don't like that the vendors be alone, and O-RAN is good for that because that's exactly what's been happening in some parts of the network. The vendors are a bit alone there, and it's a bit of silos. So it's not. I don't believe in Big Bang projects or evolutions that tomorrow everything is being O-RAN. I think it's an excellent first step in terms of standardization instead of creating these and O-RAN working now with TGPP. We already have an architecture and giving the first steps to achieve these cloud benefits. It's going to be a step, but I don't think in the next years will be dominant O-RAN.
Okay, so Terry, we're hearing. We all expect benefits from innovation, and we also hear we need to preserve the existing, of course, but it needs to be an incremental business case, and it is step by step. Let me challenge that and just push back a little, right? And say, actually, the performance that we're getting from our current networks is quite impressive and probably sufficient for like most of the use cases. Is there a need for automation for some of the tool chains? Absolutely, operations can be more efficient, artificial intelligence is going to hit home, and so on, but that's not the RAN. In the RAN, is it worth the effort to think that a standardization process, such as the ORAN process that now links up with the 3GPP process that has a cycle of roughly a decade with intermediate steps, I'm aware, right? But that has a cycle, it's a moderated process. Is that at the end going to deliver us more innovation that in the RAN that gives us actually a business case compared to the innovation that we can consume from the traditional vendors?
Yeah, just to be, because I guess it's open to have different views on exactly what you said, Bella. So just allow me to contra that one. So it might be, of course, exactly you're right. You have these generations which have these 10 or decades, for every time. So I think in my mind, Open RAN is an attempt to break away a bit from that. And the reason is that you're modularizing the RAN, so you allow for actually innovation both on the different network function, but also on the underlying cloud platform. And then definitely also on the controller side and the digital twins, for example, and applications. And you allow for different innovation speeds on within these different domains. So it's trying a bit to break away from, I would say, this 1 decade for each generation. And I'd rather speed up, the different domains there. So I think at least the way we see that the Open RAN comes with broadly 3 characteristics. One, of course, is the basic open disaggregation, so disaggregation between hardware and software and different modules, for example. Then you have the cloudification, which is own innovation space and also potential for synergies with other applications, in particular when you're talking about specific 5G applications. And then lastly, you have this open intelligence and open data. Which invites for a new way to pull out information from RAN and use that in different kind of propositions to, for example, enterprise customers. For example, more granular information about location, mobility patterns, and those kind of things, which it might be relevant, for example, in both in an in-building scenario, fire alarms is going off, and you need to understand on a very granular level what people are, for example. You need to understand, we are remote driving some vehicles, heavy machinery. You also need to understand, okay, so what's happening there? Besides just having a connectivity and a video camera, you want to have another channel which is actually having this precise location and those kind of things. So that opportunities there becoming, in my mind, with Open RAN, when you are opening up the information flow as well. And able to pull out that information and use it for different applications, for example, as part of, as well as into the radio intelligent controller, I think. So that are, in my mind, that would probably be challenging what you're saying, and that there are innovation potential. Then, of course, the question is, would we be able to change gears to benefit from that innovation potential? And that remains fully to be seen, I think. But at least the doors are opening up here, I think, for opportunities. And then, of course, it's up to us to prove that this is really something we can take a benefit out of.
I was going to throw exactly that question as the follow-on to Cayetano, because it seems that this is... So I understand that you're saying we want to have innovation in a more granular level, both on a time scale, but also in the scope of systems that is being that innovation is being applied to, and that are being innovated. So I get that. And thank you for the pushback. That's the whole point. But Cayetano, this still sounds like a significant engineering effort, both in terms of technical engineering, making the systems work, but also then in business process reengineering, some cultural adaptation, skills and profiles. Many operators around the world, I know Telefonica has good engineering capabilities, and many of you do as well, but many operators actually have lost some of their engineering capabilities, quite honestly, and would not find themselves capable to manage software projects of this scale and integration projects of this scale. Is that not so we're basically saying we need the cloud because it gives us innovation, but with that innovation comes the responsibility to make sure that it works better and more economical than whatever we had before. That seems like a huge burden on engineering and engineering risk. How do you guys handle that?
I think you are right. From one point of view, disaggregation and specific usage of cloud, and then disaggregated hardware and software, and even the disaggregation of function that Open RAN represents, that is having a standardized interfaces and being more granular in the responsibility of the different function, makes the network more complicated. So you need an extra effort in engineering for implementing that. Okay. On the other hand, the usage
and maintaining, because now each element is upgraded every time you upgrade. You have. Okay.
Yeah. And we are perceiving that already in the core. In the core, we are using cloud technology, and then aligning the Kubernetes, the CAS, and the CNF releases is not easy, and the automation that you have to implement for instance, for upgrading a software release or for changing a configuration, is complex. So you have some complexity there. But on the other hand, cloud should allow you, and this is the reason why we are moving to cloud, a more agile and more automated way of working. So operating a cloud network will be or a network based on cloud technology should be easier to automate, and then the engineering effort should be lower. The access to the data for doing automatic optimization, for instance, should be easier. Okay, but this has yet to be proven, and Terje said it very clear. I fully agree with that. But in the specific case of radio, in my opinion, there's a big part of the innovation that is coming from the infrastructure, from the radio infrastructure. So cloud will not help us in the remote radio head, okay? And remote radio head has been the main change in 5G, for instance. So the massive MIMO progress we have had is where majority of our increasing capacity is coming from, and this is mainly hardware. I mean, you have software for sure that you have to have it, but having this remote radio head with the right level of power, with the right consumption, and with the right size, it is an important effort for engineering and innovation. So cloud could help us in moving faster in innovation in the software, but there's a key part, specifically in the radio of infrastructure, that has to be handled with innovation. I mean, this is one of the reasons why alternative provider is having trouble to catch up with incumbent vendors, because the importance of the infrastructure and the level of investment you have to put for innovating in the infrastructure is very high, and I think it's key. On the other hand, network innovation, I mean, we don't need cloud for network to be innovated. I mean, if you see the evolution of network during the years, not only in terms of increasing performance, but also increase on way of working. In general, all operators, we have done a tremendous journey, and you see the consumption or the capacity that our network has today compared with 10 years ago is huge. So we are an industry in which we make use of technology and adapt our processes to the best possible operation of this technology. We don't need cloud for innovation, meaning that we are not innovating till now. We need cloud. We need cloud to make it easier and to foster this innovation in a much faster speed of innovation. But we have to identify that the innovation in the network has been huge in the last years. In general, in history, I mean, our industry is one of the most progress from performance point of view, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and I understand your statement saying we don't need cloud for innovation, but it makes it easier to implement. I still want to take the sentence out of context and throw it at Andre and say, hey, Andre, we don't need cloud for innovation. What about all of this ecosystem stuff?
No, but I agree with Caetano was saying. We don't need cloud for innovation, and we don't need to be focused on the hype for innovation. We need to have a strategy, and the strategy needs to be clear for each company. Which tool we use, we need to choose. But going back, I think cloud is going to be part of the innovation, and this is a good duality that we can do on the run. Because we did the cloud in the core, and I think all the operators has the core virtualized. For the run, everyone is looking at how we can do it, and it's not we need to do it. It's how we can do it and how we can get benefits on this transformation. Because, and myself, I had some hiccups on this cloud virtualization when I was doing it. And these errors that we had on the virtualization of the core, if we had the same in the RAN, they are propagated in a way that is catastrophic. So in the core, it's a couple of data centers. In the RAN, we are talking about thousands of edge sites. So this is more a question of not to take this out of context of Caetano, but to understand how we can do it. And at the end of the day, if we are going to have the business case to do it, it makes sense, as Juan was saying also.
I know what Caetano said, and I just took the sentence and I deliberately took it out of context and threw it in different. But still, Juan, when you work on your RAN strategy and architecture and some of the core services that go with it, do you actually collaborate and co-innovate with other vendors that you invite to the table to have joint programs? Be it small software vendors, be it hyperscalers, is that something where you draw innovation from, or how do you do that?
Our responsibility as mobile operators to be adopters of innovation. So the level of investment in research and development from the RAN vendors is massive, and we have a responsibility to understand it and to use it. And as adopters of innovation, we can enable other pockets of innovation. And in the RAN domain, that's not particularly difficult. If we have products and services that are fit for purpose, we can utilize them in pockets, test them, understand them, and then scale them up if the promise in terms of benefits or business case is being proven. So I don't think that's a problem in itself. Where I see that while in the technology world, our industry has been very successful, and we have progressed, and innovation has come via the suppliers and with the operators adopting that when it has been available and fit for purpose. We have been very successful on that. I don't think that we have been as successful in the kind of services level innovation when it comes to offering something different and better to our customers to be able to monetize our networks. And that's where probably we should be totally open to the possibilities, and we have all the promises in the core network in relation to that, to open any party to bring services to our network and us being part of it. I see that as a given that we are going all in that direction. When it comes to the RAN, we have to understand what those opportunities are as well, and be open to them and enable those pockets of innovation in our networks to work with the vendors in that direction. So the short answer is yes, of course, we work with the vendors all the time, but the nature of the innovation may be different, no? Technology versus business in innovation, and we have to support both.
I hear you. So Terje, we as a last question to you, and then we do final statements and questions for the audience as well. When we think of innovation, both in terms of the business side, but also the technology side, I understand as an SVP for network and cloud technology, I would expect that you work with all cloud technology vendors, and I would expect that they have fantastic ideas that they pitch to you in all segments of the core, the transport, and the RAN platforms. How's the business side of this? Is this at the end of the day, a cost per capacity or cost for operation business case? So it's a cost down business case? Or do you also see services that could be value up business cases?
Yeah, no, I think we are coming from the what value is it? So meaning that there are business opportunities on top of call it the connectivity, and also I think Johan mentioned that. So it's not only connectivity, but it's more services beyond connectivity, and then of course there are a number of options there. Some are closely linked to RAN, for example, and what information we can get out of the RAN. Others are more in the end-to-end space, and where RAN and cloud definitely plays a role. Come with a solution to enterprise, for example, could be a complete in-building how to manage and building, for example. And we also have companies in the Telenor group which is also specializing on that. So we see that we can through these offerings picking or connect the partners on RAN, for example, with some cloud capabilities, with some applications on top, for example, and also operational services and security definitely on top of that, analytics services, for example, on top of that. So all these kind of things comes together to provide an offering to the enterprise. And it's not only buildings, there are a number of other industries also which are looking for the same things. And we see that Open RAN is actually providing some capabilities and have a strong potential again to engage with innovation, and then pulling in some of the partners which are specializing on some of these applications, specializing on some solutions there. Maybe they're already in these industries and could just make a bridge between what they already have, for example, on devices and applications with the RAN information, for example. So there are quite a lot of opportunities there to think about innovation, and definitely work with partners, but also we work with enterprise customers. So that's what we are doing through the pilots, for example, and demonstrating that this can work, or this is where we are. We need to work on some other things, for example, to solve the whole case. And that's very appreciated by actually the enterprises because then you become a partner for them in how they want to digitalize, for example, their systems and their processes. So I think it's a strong argument in my mind to help and be relevant for these kind of transformations, also for the other industries, which we need to be aware of, I think. And so it's not that we are, parked in the connectivity only business. We have to really step up to pursue new opportunities.
Yes. Cayetano, before I go to you, I want to let the audience know that in case you want to ask questions to the panel, there will be a few minutes left at the end. Please put them in the question and answer. I think that's where I can see them and pick them up and read them out to the panel, and the panelists will also be able to see them there and answer directly. So Cayetano, very similar question in terms of innovation and domains of innovation. We've heard and spoken a bit about technology innovation, the need for that, and the need for accelerating in that space, but also for the business process innovation in terms of operating the networks. What about the let me call it the retail side? Are we in an era where operators are rebuilding their RAN in order to enable use cases for enterprise customers, for instance, or even in the B2B2X context, that will drive the economics of a cloudification of the RAN? Is that a relevant?
I think revenue and monetization, it is very relevant in our strategy, and Juan Francisco mentioned this before. I think the revenue is the main problem of our industry. It's not only Telefónica, but all our industry. We see that our industry revenue in general is decreasing year over year, and we are providing more and more performance, more and more services. So having a way of monetizing our network asset is key. Cloudification may help, okay? And when we see the opportunities for monetization that we have with the technology evolution, for instance, Open Gateway, network APIs, or for instance, slicing, or network edge, majority of this technology needs a very fast implementation cycle, need agility and need speed in the implementation. In general, then cloud may help us in adopting this new technology, new services, and letting us monetize more our network assets. So yes, cloud can be another tool. And we need to understand cloud as a tool. So cloud is not a goal. A customer will not buy our services because we have cloudified our RAN, or because we have cloudified whatever. If I have a cloudified RAN, but I cannot do reduced resource partitioning that will support my slicing, customer will not see the benefit. So understanding cloud technology as a tool, yes, can help us in monetizing faster, because the agility in implementing new functionality and new services is higher.
Thank you. Last word from you, Andre.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
In terms of this monetization, I think there are very good projects opening this. So we need to think what is the core business of the operators. Is connectivity. It will be connectivity. But in terms of monetization, not only the ideas of the slicing that for business to consumer I'm a bit skeptic, but but the other services that can be done, it's these new initiatives as considered as value-added service. So I have this perspective of this monetization needs also to be organic for the operator. Cannot be something that is disruptive, that the business part of the company cannot sell. So I think in this monetization and going for the API monetization, having this value-added service, this is a very difficult question because we don't see in the market these new services. We see fixed wireless access that had a huge success in the US, but then there is not many use cases for the monetization. I think the way it's a bit for and what is being talked here to work with the clients, with the business clients, enterprise clients, try to understand a bit what are the plans and to map with the offer of connectivity, also these value-added services of the API monetization of new services that you can have with 5G. We have the location services, the vehicle to X services in the enterprise, and working with them and not doing the other way around, to define an offer and then try to pitch it to the enterprise. It's not a technology issue, the monetization. It's a joint work that needs to be done with the business that will understand the pains of the clients, and with the technology to support the ideas if it is feasible and build the proposal and the solutions for these pains of the end customers of the telecom operators.
Thank you, Andre. Juan, then the final word before we go to questions will be on you. Do you not only collaborate with the ecosystem of vendors, but also with the enterprise side? And are we going to see sufficient innovation of services to finance the engineering that we have, the engineering burden that we have ahead of us?
I think we always have to be to have that contact with the enterprise world to understand what they want and what we can offer. And also we have to assess our capabilities to offer something that is meaningful to them. Typically, the problem is that we don't understand their businesses. We understand ours. And in that communication, we may not always be offering something that brings value beyond connectivity. That is a challenge in those conversations. So if we go back to the monetization point, where potentially we have had challenges, we have not discussed it a lot today, but we are all in the direction by moving into the cloud to partner with new players, with the hyperscalers, that they have been more successful than us in the world of monetization. And as we move into the cloud and we partner with them and utilize their capabilities in relation to automation and machine learning and discovery of opportunities, we may be able to resolve the problem that we have in relation to monetization. And also it may help us kind of widen the set of services that we could offer to enterprises. That's what I would think of.
Thank you. We have one question in the Q&A. This is how to cope with all challenges that can occur in a network with open something approach and no more proprietary things by vendors. Specifically, our security issues when all infrastructure is almost cloud-based and all face the lack of competent staff. I guess this is one for you, Cayetano, or for you, Terje, whoever wants to take it.
I can maybe start on. I don't know, Cayetano probably definitely. So it's when you talk about open versus proprietary, it's very quickly turns into almost a religious discussion. But what we have seen so far is that if something is proprietary, it's not like it's secure. Because there are potential, for holes and also in the proprietary things. And it's interesting to see that these advanced attackers, what we see out there now, are very well aware of the security weaknesses also on the proprietary systems and proprietary interfaces. So that's not really a argument for keeping it proprietary, that it's more secure. It's almost the opposite in a way, because when it's open, then it has been exposed to a number of attempts, and you can learn from that if you're part of the security communities. And the same goes on the cloud part of it. We are as I said, I'm also the business security officer in Telenor. So we have defined a security architecture requirements which are applicable for anything we are doing. And it's also important to remember that cloud is not only one thing, it's a number of things as well. It could be private, it could be public or hybrid or whatever. And we have an architecture and controls and checkpoints defined and implemented for all these implementations. So again, it's not like you have to be less secure in that sense, even though you're running on cloud. What is very, very important is part of the question is that you need to prepare and plan and execute on upskilling the staff. Because no matter what you do on the system stuff, the weak link tends to be on the people side, and that goes across security. It goes across openness and taking advantage of open cloud. If you are just running your planning process is the same on traditional cloud as you do on, or the open cloud as you do on traditional cloud, you probably not get the benefits out of that. So you need to upskill the staff, across all these new things to take the benefit of that.
Mm-hmm.
Just for complementing, I think we need to have a proper balance between proprietary and standardized interfaces. I think operator, we love working with standards, and our network are having many standardized interfaces, and this should be the way in majority of the standard. But on the other hand, you have to look carefully what are the things that you want to be a standard, because you can kill innovation. If everything is completely standardized, then the room for innovation is smaller. So in other words, we need to decide what to standardize and then force completely the standardization of that piece for opening up function in modules, like in Open RAN or for whatever other thing. But then letting innovation happen in the appropriate interfaces. So rather than standardizing everything, we need to select what are the interfaces that has to be standardized and letting innovation move in other parts.
Mm-hmm. There's another question, that I wanted to throw to you from Ibrahim. Is Cloud RAN a good approach for RAN monetization?
In my opinion, has to be proven. As I said, cloud in RAN or in core or wherever should be a tool, not a goal. So if I have Cloud RAN and I can implement services faster and I can do, I don't know, API or a slicing or whatever in a better way, then it would be a good way of monetization. But having Cloud RAN only for that, it will not enable any new monetization strategy.
A big thank you to the panel. I think we've covered a lot of ground in a very short amount of time.